5750 is the number,
but not the price of Bitcoin.
No, are we at 70K? Where are we?
Well, we're 867,000 with respect to the block height.
69.9. Come on, boys. Let's make this happen.
Push it over that.
Well, the daily closes at 8, so there's always some volatility around that. Let's see where we end up by the end of the show.
Oh, let's talk about some late stage fiat. Because
I love it.
I love late stage fiat.
Shout out the friend of the show, Massa Capital, who loves tweeting about late stage fiat.
So this, Jesus fucking Christ, this story, because it just shows you how bad the economy is going. According to a study, Joey, 12 million people in the US, 12 million, are in business of influencing. So if you do the mathematics, that's 7%.
Does Mr. Gnome know that? Does Mr. R. Gnome know that?
He should be aware. If you equate this to the amount of the percentage of people working, 7% of people working in the United States of the overall workforce are peddling shit. Kind of like us, right? But
I'm a known shit peddler for sure. Yeah, definitely.
But these are full-time people, but they're delivering, like, in my opinion, fucking zero value to the economy, right? Like, what are they producing? What good are they like, it's fucking nothing. 27, if you look at the amount of paid content producers in the States, it's 27 million. So
what's paid? Does it have okay, so I saw this story, but there's no threshold for paid. That was one thing I didn't like about the story.
They say working in a full-time capacity is a 12 million people. So that's your only job.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that, though.
They say that the average creator, according to the study, was making an estimated 93,000 US per year in 2023. So do the math here, right? Like, if you look at how many young people are identifying themselves as homosexuals, right? That's going up. It's trending up quite a bit. And you look at all the people that are now being influencers. I think by 2030, 95% of the people out there is either going to be either one or the other, right? Maybe both. Maybe there's going to be scrot, but like, that's essentially it. It's going to be society. Either you're going to be, enjoying the same type of people that are, that you're born as, or you are an influencer. Like, it's, shit like this, like, we're trending in the wrong direction. Remember Tom Vu, man? I remember that guy, and I used to laugh at that fucking guy.
Who's Tom Vu?
Tom Vu used to do the infomercials, and he used to peddle his shitty real estate shit. And I used to laugh at that. But I look at that, and I long for those days. Those days actually made fucking sense. Tom,
you deserve to be broke.
He was the best. He used to go on TV. He used to go on his boat, his yacht, and he used to be surrounded by these women.
He's got tons of chicks around him. Yeah,
always. And he used to berate people. You are nothing. Look at me. I'm rich. You are. That's why he used to show people to come to the seminar. But that's the shit I fucking long for. Not this influencer fucking culture we have here. 7%, Joey. Like, that's a significant amount of people.
It is for sure. For sure it is. I'll tell you a story, okay? The influencer game, I think, is driven by a real there's a testosterone deficit in the modern world, okay? And I am convinced that the influencer sphere is totally driven by this testosterone deficit. It's everything from men
Tom
watching.
Had a lot of testosterone. If you
this guy's full of tea. He's got a lot of free tea. This guy. I'm looking at a couple pictures of this guy. This is like, oh my goodness, this guy's all dimes all over the place. So his nickname on Twitter, by the way, Tommy, so original, high tea guy. So the problem is, like, these guys with low T they're driving this like viewer economy, right? They're watching people play video games. They're watching people tell them how to dress. They're watching people tell them how to work out. They're watching people tell them how to invest. They're watching people tell them how to go on dates. They're watching people tell them that they can get any girl they want. They're watching people tell them how to buy a house. Is watching, because you don't have any testosterone to go out and fucking do it, right? Have some more eggs, get to a 225-pound squat, and shut the fucking computer off. That's number one. There's another side to this. That same influencer economy driven by the low T also has this, like, sort of a softcore porn side, right? Every influencer, it looks like now, who's not a man is either like, especially if they're if it's stuff that's geared towards men, there's always tits out. Like Twitch streamers, sending videos out or shooting videos or whatever, or streaming from hot tubs. Like, that's not video games. And you can be an influencer because the state will provide the guy with the low T enough money to give you as a Twitch streamer, and it scales so well. You can be every loser's girlfriend from the hot tub for $5 a month. And if there's 100,000 losers, you're fucking rich as fuck. You're rich as fuck. And so why wouldn't you want to be an influencer? The third prong is that as guys become, this is like now me on my men's, red pill platform, but whatever, fuck it. As guys become bigger losers, the quality of shit they'll watch goes down. And so you get worse guys telling you how to go on a date, worse losers playing video games, and worse girls in the hot tub. And like, it drops the bar for who can be an influencer because the viewers are such loser weirdos. And so over and over again, you just get in this virtuous circle. And before you know it, everybody gets it. Everybody's cucked by the hot tub streamer, right? Like, it just never stops. And so like, you wonder why this is happening. I'm telling you, there is something to my proposed electoral reforms, okay, where you must be able to squat 225. I've heard some other suggestions, like you have to be able to change the oil in your car, or you have to be able to, shingle or put up a sheet of drywall. Any of these things will do. But the idea that we have this whole generation of guys, and it's specifically men, I think, that are the core of this problem, not women. This is like now we're into a mating strategy thing. But again, fuck it. It's guys at the core of this problem. And guys need to dig us out of this by becoming better at being men. And they're just not doing it. And they don't have to do it because the girlfriend in the hot tub is $5 a month. And you can just go full Diddy and start tugging your shit in your basement 5 nights a week. Your parents are afraid to come down because it's your space. They don't want to invade. It's all a mess. It's all a mess. We got to bring back bullying. We got to bring back parents kicking the fucking door down when you're in there with the lights off for too long. And we got to bring back dragging people to the gym, kicking and screaming. Bring back the rope and PE class. I see a couple people in the chat. We need to bring back nicotine. We need to bring back steaks. All that stuff has to come back, or we're going to get the economy you're describing down the road as those curves rip up and to the right. Everyone's either an influencer or the other one. I won't mention it. YouTube will probably ban us, but you get the idea.
I think we're already banned. Not sure if you saw this. Like, if we're still on, it's just a fucking blessing. I think they just missed us. We had a bank fail a little over a week ago. This fucking flew.
Yeah, you were saying. Yeah,
like the First National Bank of Lindsay. I don't mean to laugh, but that's the one that failed. October 18th, it collapsed, and this is according to the FDIC website. The First National Bank of Lindsay was closed by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. FDIC was named the receiver. No advance notice was given to the public when the financial institution was closed. So it was closed and taken over by FDIC because of suspected fraud. And it was FDIC insured, and it's going to cost, FDIC is going to shill out $43 million to make people whole. Where the fuck this money comes from? Well, we know. And apparently the bank was, according to the FDIC, identified as doing false and deceptive bank records and other information suggesting fraud that revealed depletion of the bank's capital. So there must have been some sort of bank run that they didn't want to disclose. I'm wondering, is there a public ledger out there that may prevent this type of thing? Like, you know what, I'm wondering. There's got to be. If it ever comes to mind, I'll let you know. But they say people that have in excess of $250,000 in their accounts, they should contact the FDIC to make an appointment to discuss their deposits. So, like, could you imagine calling the FDIC, right? Like,
what's the hold music at FDIC?
Could you? Yeah, FDIC. Okay.
I lost all my fucking money. I had $4.5 million in the bank, and tried to withdraw a couple of million. I wanted to go to Costco to buy some food. And the ATM told me to have fun staying poor. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Some Bitcoiner was laughing. What could I do?
Please what are you gonna do? Please send help.
I don't know. Like, this is just the beginning of many. There's actually a list. You could go on. There's FDIC list that is being administered that shows all the banks that have failed to date to this year. the Republic First Bank, DBA Republic Bank. That's one full name, that April this year. And this one, the First National Bank of Lindsay. Last year, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them last year, if you recall. There's going to be a bunch more coming up.
Yeah.
Right. This one, it sounds like it suffered a bank run. And that's scary. Like, your money, like I was trying to tell people, your money, when you put it in the bank, it's not your money anymore. It's somebody else's because they lent it out.
Officially, it's not even like they try and hide that. People don't often talk about it, at least not outside of Bitcoin. But yeah, this is like a fact. It's a fact of the matter. It's how this thing works. The whole Ponzi runs on that principle. When you call the FDIC, this should be the hold music, I think. Are you ready for this? This is gonna absolutely thump. Okay, are you ready? Hold on. Hopefully you can hear this.
We're gonna kick it off, right? Sir, if you could please submit the papers in triplicate and make sure that they are submitted between the hours of 1 and 3 p.m. only on Thursdays, you will get an answer back within 6 to 8 months. Thank you very much.
Why is that the most dog shit quality?
It's terrible.
That elevator music is so good. I wish I would have found that before, but anyway, yeah, not great. Stay away from banks. Banks are harmful. Harmful to your health.
The World Bank, I didn't get too much information of this. I just got like this snippet of it, but it was pretty funny. But apparently they've been collecting climate change funds, and $41 billion have been unaccounted for. And there's no clear public record detailing where the money went.
Have they checked in Ukraine? Have they checked in Ukraine?
Again, I want to go back. Like, there's got to be a public ledger that exists that can help alleviate these type of problems. But again, it kind of escapes me. $41 billion, climate change. God, man, what the fuck? Good for them.
Yeah, I guess so. Not bad. That's pretty good money if you can get your hands on that, eh?
Yeah. The only saving grace here is that in a few years, 41 billion won't be able to fill up your card at Costco. So like, if they don't spend it soon, if they don't liquidate it, fuck, that's it.
Went to Costco. Yeah, just 41 billion this week on eggs.
They're fresh. Let's go to Notable North. I'm not sure if you got wind of this one, but this past week, Humber College, they announced they're going to be closing its commercial truck driving program.
How funny is that?
Why? Why are they doing this? There's a reason, Joey. There is a reason,
yeah,
and you're gonna love it. Changing market conditions. They are changing.
Just no more LMIAs to drive a truck into a fucking bridge.
No, there's more than it. So this program is going to unwind December 2024. That's over 30 years of operation.
Yeah, and
they're saying due to enrollment challenges in a highly competitive landscape, they're going to be closing down this thing. Really, I don't think it's the shutting down or reducing the LMIAs or like all this. I think it's just there's other smaller alternatives, smaller companies providing the same, and they're doing it at a cheaper rate, and it's a cutthroat business.
I think maybe in the most generous interpretation, it's possible that Humber is unwilling to lower the standards to these smaller school standards, and is as a result not getting the same number of people.
So it's competition.
Which is possible. So I should retract my earlier statement, though. You know, there could also be that could also be a factor. I don't know. Like the way I see colleges now clamoring, whining, and it's not just colleges. Mac here in Hamilton is complaining that they're, the international students are a vibrant part of our community. Shut the fuck up. Okay, we'll get to that when more of these universities close. This is not an international student story, but I will note that many people have discussed over the last few years an uptick in erratic and sometimes dangerous driving by big wheel operators. And you can make of that what you will. I think these two stories could be related, right? Where you're seeing standards drop at smaller schools that maybe don't have the same governance structure, same accountability model, all these things, and also don't receive public funding. It's good and bad, right? Hopefully it shines a light on some of these smaller schools, but my guess is that it won't change until we see some kind of catastrophic incident like Humboldt a few years back or whatever, right? It's too bad. People will lose their lives over something like this, but we don't learn our lesson unless we touch the stove, like I said earlier. So expect more change of this nature.
Did you know that universities in Ontario, just Ontario alone, are set to lose $300 million this year?
It's not enough.
Like,
it's not enough.
And next year they're going to say 600 million in total.
Not enough.
Due to the number of international students being reduced. So, yeah, that's the problem with that, though, Joey, is how are they funded?
Public money.
So that's going to have to come from some other pot.
Yeah.
Healthcare.
Well, they'll have to close. They'll have to close. They'll have to fire the entire administrative army and the vice president of diversity and equity in all these schools, who makes $250,000 a year, encouraging whatever diversity means that month on campus. The schools are bloated administratively, for sure. That's 100% true in every case. That's true at the municipal level, at elementary school administration, in elementary school administrative pods. It's true at university and colleges, and it's probably true other places too. So there's bloat there. The money they're losing from international students, or whatever they attribute this loss to, I'm sure they try and spin it in some other way, but clearly we know what the problem is. That money should have been spent expanding operations instead of just basically feathering their nests, right? Which is what they did. It should have been spent increasing the quality of education instead of feathering their nests. It should have been spent fixing infrastructure. Or how about building some fucking homes around the schools where you pushed home prices up and rental costs up thanks to the influx of students? You didn't do any of that. Instead, you tried to pad your own pockets, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. Slowly but surely, those chickens are coming home to roost. And I'm looking forward to more stories like this with much bigger numbers, because these guys deserve it. They totally deserve it. They were on this gravy train. They thought it was going to last forever. They were part and parcel to this idea that anyone saying international students were causing problems was a racist or a xenophobe. They parroted those talking points. They stamped and branded students with that sort of thinking, trying to propagate the scam. And now they got fucked. And so I have no sympathy for them. I hope all these guys lose money. I hope all these guys lose their jobs. They deserve it more than almost anyone else in this whole scheme.
15,000 people, Joey, lined up at Cloverdale Fairgrounds in BC.
Yeah.
And why did they do it? Because they're trying to get their hands on ugly potatoes. There is a farmer over there that grows potatoes, and the ones that are irregular, they have odd shape, growth cracks, or bruises that are just deemed to be ineligible to be sold, they're being given away to the public. So pouring rain, 5,000 people immediately lined up to get their hands on some of these potatoes.
Brutal.
Well, 15,000 people were there. Like, that's a sign that the economy is not doing all that well.
Wait a minute. I thought it was doing really well.
It depends who you talk to, but I guess you asked one of these 15,000 people are lining up for ugly potatoes. Like, that's a sign. I mean, I have another story that's I could follow up, and it just goes to show you, like, just this is the way things are trending. And will things get better? Will food get cheaper or more affordable for people? As things get more costly, will wages keep up? And the people that are shut out right now, how are they going to get access to food? Because at the very least, you need food, shelter, and I don't know what else. Like, that's the bare minimum, I guess, to survive. Am I missing
for
anything?
Sure. No.
So, and if you can't get food, like, that's one of the ingredients you need just to fucking live. And these guys are just lining up. I say, guys, these individuals lining up for potatoes, ugly potatoes. Like, I don't know. It's a sad story.
Potatoes, by the way, not that good of food when they're not ugly. It's like a pretty middling starch, in my opinion. Don't throw anything at me, but I'm not a big potato guy. I'm told all the time that the jumbo rate cut that we got last week is a sign that the economy and economic policy is working. I'm told that the problem is just that I'm not understanding how good things are, right? That I'm not, like, the communication, I'm not being communicated to in a way that helps me, my small brain, understand how good life is for Canadians. Maybe if those people in the parking lot had just been told that they don't need ugly potatoes, that things are going really well, maybe they wouldn't have lined up. But it seems to me that there's more and more stories. Do you have a food bank story this week?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Sure. Of course you do. Of course you do. Why not? Every week there's a food bank story on this show.
Well, the monthly food bank usage in Canada has soared to a record 2 million. And the reason for this is because of higher costs for food and housing and so forth. So people, they don't have the ability to feed themselves with what they are earning, so they're going to the food bank. So an annual food bank survey was done, and in March of this year, this is just March, so things have changed since then, probably trending in the wrong direction. 2 million visits were done in March 2024. And if you do the mathematics, that's more, or that's almost double that was done in March 2019. And so if you want to do the math, it was in March 2019, 1.08 million people visited the food bank then, and now we're at 1.93 million. So, yeah.
It's a lot.
Actually, that was 1.93 was in 2023.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people. 2
but it's going the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
Like it doubled it in 5 years, nearly doubled it in 5 years. And the price that is a true indication of what inflation is.
I have an honest question for you that's going to be hard for you to answer. But thinking about this story and comparing to some of the videos I've seen online, they're on YouTube, they're on Twitter, they're there for anyone to see. Again, not to like blame international students for these things, but there's video after video after video, TikTok after TikTok. CBP is on TikTok now, crushing it, by the way. And on TikTok, because of the content of our stuff, when I go to look at our analytics, it just feeds you like it starts you on a feed. And on this feed, I see a lot of foreign students talking about how to use food banks in Canada. And on Twitter, I see videos of the same thing. And on YouTube, I see videos of the same thing. And on Instagram, I see videos of, how much of the food bank usage is illegitimate while many people actually need the food banks to live day to day, thanks to the pressures that stuff like immigration, stuff like rising food costs, stuff like all this stuff is putting on day-to-day life, the pocketbooks of average Canadians. Like these are compounding problems and people don't seem to realize. And again, you were called all sorts of names, canceled, forced into unemployment, removed from friend groups, removed from community groups, removed from school groups, removed from schools in some cases, if you're a post-secondary student, for saying that these things would happen. And instead now, you have these stories every week basically about people lining up for bruised fucking potatoes or going to a food bank. What is the situation where finally it'll be enough? Like, when is the straw going to break the camel's back on all this?
It should have happened already.
Are we really that apathetic? Like, it seems like we are.
I don't.
It's not even affecting me. It's not even affecting you. But like, I find myself like raising my voice on this show, raising my voice when I'm at social gatherings, raising my voice alone in my car. Like, I am always at an elevated level talking about this stuff. And why the fuck shouldn't everyone else be?
You know what it really impacts people is when it's visible to them. When you leave your home and you walk outside and right away you see a homeless person right there, then it's noticeable. Or you're going to work and as you're walking into work, you see a homeless person there, then it hits you hard. And for the people that aren't in those situations because you live in, a nicer area or you go to work to a nicer area of town, you don't see it. So maybe a lot of people aren't, or people are even working from home and are just shielded from this stuff. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But the people, I just wanted to talk about the people that are abusing the system. Whoever they are, anybody out there should be named and shamed.
Agreed.
For taking food.
Totally.
You're essentially robbing.
There's no shame. There's no shame in the people doing it. None. They post videos on how you can do it too. Like, that's disgusting behavior. Disgusting behavior.
Their Bitcoin addresses should be made public, and we should know exactly how much they've been spending, where they're spending it. So yeah, we have to do something about that group of people that are just doing that kind of garbage. Like, whoever they are, I don't care if this or that or like where they're from. I don't give a fuck. Doing shit like that, stealing food from people that need it is fucking wrong. Like that, there's kids out there that are going to school starving, and you're taking food away from that fucking child.
Brutal.
Like, come on. And let's keep on this train here because there's an Ontario man that was granted euthanasia. So they made, and this was because he was suffering from post-COVID-19 vaccination syndrome.
Wait a minute. That can't be right. There's no side effects from those vaccines.
Apparently, this individual, he was in his late 40s. He was suffering, and he was in functional decline following 3 different vaccinations for SARS-CoV, and he was twice admitted into hospital, and once involuntarily because he had thoughts of suicide. In fact, a year ago, before he even was euthanized, he even tried committing suicide by jumping off from a high altitude, from a height, right? So he just, maybe from a building or from, I'm not sure, but never ended up working for him. Yeah, like this is another one. Like this is sad shit, man. And I hope whoever, like these companies that push this shit, without too much testing, like people like this, man, like, it's sad to see. And they used to say if it saves one life, but one life, then here's one life that's lost as a result.
Yeah, exactly. I see your comment, Fringe Ginge. I can't respond in text. So, he's asking, I heard about this stuff, but what is post-COVID vax syndrome? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm lucky. Like I got 2 shots. Like a lot of Canadians, I got 2 shots, not because I was afraid of COVID, but because I wanted my fucking life back. And, I was lucky. I didn't have any problems, knock on wood, so far anyways. And a lot of people didn't have the same experience. A lot of people had problems with their heart. A lot of people had problems with their functionality after, this guy was in decline, ended up having to be, ended up going to the self-checkout line. And it's just like, there's a country from 10 years ago where none of this stuff was thinkable. None of it. The 2020, the 2015, 2014 Canada, none of this stuff was on the table. None of this stuff had been conceived of. None of this stuff was imaginable at that time. The mandates, the lockdowns, euthanizing people who can't get healthcare that they've paid for their entire life. The healthcare won't allow you to seek treatment anywhere else. You're stuck here unless you can pay for it yourself. So you basically pay twice. None of this was thinkable. And now, just another week on CBP, just another story on CBP, just another story in the National Post, another guy, some problem, kill him. Don't forget, this is not a story that's, like it's significant because of the COVID thing maybe, but don't forget there was an administrator who offered a Special Olympian who asked for a wheelchair ramp assisted suicide 2 years ago. Do you remember we did that story?
Oh, yes.
Like, this is not what first world countries look like. And so again, when we talk about the swan crossing the road, okay, you're not looking for the black one. You're looking for the volume of the white ones. And it's a growing number. That pack is getting more and more dense. Okay. Like these are all signs that you are in a decline. And you can say you don't realize it, you don't get it, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. Like you have to start caring at some point. Bitcoin is an important part of this. It's an important part of your exit strategy. Not only if you have to like leave the country geographically, if you have to leave the jurisdiction, but just separating yourself from the insanity and the constant anxiety associated with this type of thinking. Like you don't have to do this. You can just go on Bitcoin, Twitter, shit post, lift weights with your friends, have a couple of beers, go to the cottage, and enjoy your life. You don't have to constantly be around this kind of stuff and think this way. These people they're not conducive to a high quality of life for you, average Bitcoiner, okay? You can do better than this. And Bitcoin is the first step, but it's, I think, one of the most important ones as well.
Canada apparently has been giving money to Afghanistan since 2021.
Nice.
We've learned through this from somebody doing some investigating in Global Affairs Canada, $367 million in total. So what's the government over in Afghanistan? They're unrecognized Taliban by most countries in the world.
Yeah.
So this is according to the National Post. Internal documents state that Global Affairs Canada was saying, quote, this could generate negative media interest.
Could. Yeah.
So the money that's been sent over for humanitarian and life-saving aid. It's $143 million for humanitarian aid, $70 million in development aid. That was in 2023, and also $48 million in development aid, again in 2023 as well. The spokesperson from Global Affairs was saying Canada has continued to provide development assistance to the people of Afghanistan, man, like that's
What have they
and
developed? What have they developed for 300 million?
a runway for their F-15s that they've inherited from
For the parade they had with American military vehicles. Is that what we? Interesting.
I don't know,
and
man.
how many food banks could we have stocked with that money? And how many homeless encampments could we have given affordable lodging to? And how many drug addicts could we have pulled off the street and treated? And how many kids could we have given good education and a quality meal when they got to school? How many elderly could we have given healthcare to? How many people on waiting lists who fucking died could we have had seen and treated? It's a farce. This is the end of empire, man. Like there is no other way to describe this. It's everywhere you look now, and you can choose to ignore it. You can choose to say Orange Man bad or Polyev bad. This that. Like it doesn't matter. None of this stuff matters. This is the end of the empire. It doesn't matter who's in the throne. The party's over. You got to get into Bitcoin. You got to separate yourself from all these people, these groups, this thinking, these ideas, and start thinking about who you want to spend your time with and who you want to build your either hypothetical or actual citadel with. Because the citadel days are coming sooner than you think. If, in my opinion, I think these things are starting to accelerate, as we like to say. And you see stories like this, and you're just like, oh, another almost $500 million gone to something I'll never see, development that will never be tangible there or here. And meanwhile, there's a guy, strung out on fentanyl on the corner down by my kid's school. That's good. Perfect.
Or
good.
outside outside the office where they had the election.
Yeah.
Remember we had that.
Outstanding. What a moment. Like that's end of empire stuff. And that should be in the fucking history books, man.
I like that he was blaming everything else, but the guy behind him.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing stuff.
Absolutely amazing.
Canada and other G7 nations, they have come to an agreement. Well, I'm going to just lay the table here. When Russia went to war and invaded Ukraine, a lot of these G7 nations, all of them, they decided to freeze Russian assets. Mm-hmm. And so they closed off around 280 billion US of assets were frozen. So just this week, it was confirmed that from that, they're going to be sending aid. $50 billion is going to be given to Ukraine for their war efforts. And this is going to be from the frozen Russian assets. Canada is going to be providing around 3.7 billion US from this. So yeah, they're continuing to feed the machine over there, and they're using frozen Russian assets. Now, what this, like, for me, I think this is kind of an orange pill moment more than anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't want to say what they've done in terms of freezing was good or bad. I don't want to say what Russia did was good or bad. Like, everybody knows can make up their minds about this shit. But the reality is, it's another indication when it's your money that's put somewhere, it's not yours.
Oh, yeah.
But Bitcoin, if you have those keys, it's yours. Yep. You can move that Bitcoin anywhere you want. If you don't have them, it's not yours. But this is another orange pill moment. Like, I can't see why anybody would look at this, those people that are impacted, or other people that could be potentially impacted, and just say, why would I continually do with this kind of stuff? Put it in a bank and get rugged. Why don't I just buy Bitcoin and I have total control over shit? Like, this is another orange pill moment.
Simple as, man. Like, nothing is yours except Bitcoin. Not your house, not your stonks, not your Twitch streamer, hot tub girlfriend. It's none of it. The only thing that you got is your Bitcoin and your Bitcoin wallet. And you can keep playing these games with states and state level actors and NGOs and multinationals and all the. Everybody wants a piece of your pie, and their fingers are always just hovering above the crust, ready to dip in there. And the more you do this, you didn't want to talk about the nature of the frozen assets there. Whether or not you agree with the asset freezing is not the thing. The thing is that the assets can be frozen, like they can be seized. That's a foreign debt vehicle. Like, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because none of it is actually yours to begin with. It's all theirs, whether you're a country or a guy in the basement. Like, the sooner everyone figures this out, the better. The problem, I think, Len, with people figuring this out and having an orange pill moment is they don't have anything. And so they're not concerned about anyone seizing it. Like, that's, I think, another thing we could talk about in a longer form, show on that topic. But this own nothing is a plague on people understanding that ownership is now at stake. Excuse me, longer term, and it's becoming I think a significant issue all over the place, not just here in Canada or in the U.S., but everywhere.
Let's talk about liabilities, Joey. Talk about homes. Yeah. So there's a story that came out this past week because now Canadian homeowners that are using their property as short-term rentals like Airbnbs and shit like that, it's potentially you could be charged 13% tax when you sell your home. And this stems from a court order that came out. Some dude was using his home, and it is a residential complex. They say that he was operating like a hotel, aka Airbnb. So when he sold his home, after the courts came in, they decided to go against him, and now he has to pay taxes of around $77,000 in GST/HST. And so people that are using their homes for short-term rentals, you're going to potentially be charged an additional 13% when you decide to sell. So there's another reason why people may not open things up for short-term rentals. And who knows, maybe they'll just leave it empty, or I don't know. It just, you look at this, and again, it's not really yours in a way, right? Like you were just talking about it.
It's not. Okay, here's a question for you. I saw this headline a few days ago, but I didn't dig into it. How did this end up in front of a judge?
That's a good question. I know this stems back to February 2008. I don't know the specifics around that, but I think that it was the city itself, the city of Ottawa, or the condo board and over there that was one that was trying to chase him for this, because they must have been pissed off that he was using this as a rental. And if you're in a condo and you see next door just new people over and over again, they're using it as a partying and stuff like that, you kind of get pissed off. You want to take it to the owner, and that's what they kind of did here. So at least they complained to the right people and they took it to. So
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add to that story. Your house isn't yours. You can't use it however you want. You can't live in it however you want, and the government can decide arbitrarily on unknown, against an unknown rubric that your house is taxable on sale. Thanks for playing. That's it. There's no option for you at that point. You just owe the money. You owe them $75,000, $77,000, whatever it was.
And I guess we could talk about, there was a rate cut this past week. It seems like so long ago, but the past 7 days, actually it was 5 days ago, I think, that there was a rate cut in Canada, 50 basis points. And this is the third in a row that we had, fourth in a row.
Fourth, 325s and now 50.
So they're aggressive.
Right? You don't do 50s unless there's a problem. That's, just the state of affairs in finance. So what's the problem? We're going to find out. I'll tell you, we're going to find out what the problem is. They know what the problem is going to be. They're looking at some plumbing that's obviously not, in their favor. And they know there's going to be a problem. And we're about to find out what the problem is. Like I said to Mike, I want to live in a world where policymakers are not talking about rate cuts the same way they're talking about Costco hot dogs. I don't expect to see politicians or central bankers celebrating a jumbo rate cut. I don't want to see that. That's not even-handed policymaking. And, we've seen the results, and we're going to see what becomes of this. The question now is what's going to happen in December, right? There's another meeting in November, December. You're going to get another cut. You're going to be down basically 2%. That's a lot. They're unwinding as fast as they wound up.
Well, the last time Statistics Canada reported on inflation numbers, it was below 2%.
Yeah, because because gas is $70 a barrel.
So they're trying to get to that magical 2%. Like that is, and I know it was a very small sample size. It was just 1 month that they got below their target range. But I don't know, 2%. Why is that the magical number? I mean, it's
why that story is that it's just an invented number. It sounded good to the guy who came up with it.
And it's, very simple. Like if I tell you the shit goes up in price really 2% every year, you don't really notice it year to year. But after 30 years, you look back, it's like, holy shit, I used to pay for a car this month. Like, so it's just death by 1,000 cuts. And for things to go up in value by 2% means that the money supply has to be going up at least by 2% as well.
For sure.
Like shit just doesn't go, everything doesn't go up in price unless the money supply also increases as well. So that's whatever, it is what it is. And they're trying to work on this, the problem that exists. And they're going to keep progressively cutting. And the
Good
United
luck.
States is also the day after. It's next week sorry, is it next week? Yeah,
It's
Wednesday
on
next
Wednesday.
week, I think.
Yeah, it's on Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, Thursday I think is the meeting.
Okay.
So there's a potential, because the U.S. can't count fucking votes in a night. God only knows why, cheating. They potentially are going to have a rate decision meeting without knowing who the president is.
Yeah, it's a very likely possibility, unless there's a sweep. Somehow there's a sweep, and some states that they haven't decided yet just don't matter in the end.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a likely possibility. I think it's going to be very close, relatively close. And as for who's going to win, honestly, I know a lot of people are saying Trump is going to win.
Prediction markets say Trump.
I'm flipping a coin still. I'm still flipping a coin.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. Just looking at some of the polling now too, you're starting to see some Trump momentum. But I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter. That's the thing you got to remember. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. It doesn't matter if she wins or loses. It doesn't matter who wins over here. The next 5 years, basically all over the modern world, are going to be unprecedented. You're going to have another tick up in inflation. It's going to destroy economies, going to destroy savers, and you're going to wind up in a situation where people are going to be looking for handouts. And as a Bitcoiner, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. The question is, are you going to have the nuts to be able to hang on to your Bitcoin before you get there, before the flood of money comes? You know, are you going to be the guy who sells at 100K, 150K, 200K? Are you going to be the guy who pays your mortgage because your wife's in your ear about it? Don't be that guy. Don't. Hang in there. Fixed rate debt, especially low interest debt, not financial advice, is good debt to have. And there's not many opportunities to have it. You know, your mortgage is one. Don't dump it because you, feel like you're getting something right on $100,000 Bitcoin. My laptop battery's about to die. Do you want to wrap it up?
Let's do it. We're done.
Okay.
How come you're not plugged in? Do you never get plugged in?
I forgot my plug upstairs. Yeah, I totally forgot.
I can't believe it lasted that long. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, this is a quality laptop, as you know. Okay, so listen, come back Wednesday for me and Ben Rabidou. We're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff we actually just touched on tonight. We're getting in some more in depth, and I'm sure Ben is going to have a lot of good stuff to say. He's a very bright guy. You should all be following his stuff. And until Wednesday, take care of yourselves.
And don't be a cock.